Hello from Toronto. I'm Stephen Chase. I'm with World Education Services and I'm going to be your host for today's webinar. I've been very much looking forward to the session today because it's been our most popular webinar to date. We've got some great speakers lined up for you, so we've been very much looking forward to this. So thank you for being part of it. I'm coming to you from the heart of Toronto's financial district. The Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, as it's commonly referred to here, CIBC, has graciously hosted me today for our session. And it's quite fitting because in many respects today, banks and financial institutions are just large IT companies. They do lots of other things, but that's an aspect to their operations. So it's something to consider when looking at job opportunities in Canada when it comes to ICT. Before the webinar, I had an opportunity to ask if you had any questions you'd like to address the presenters to address. I've shared those with them. There are some common themes, interviewing what skills are in most demand, so I've asked them to address them as best as possible in their presentations. There also were some questions that were more related to credential evaluation, and I'd like to just take a moment right now to kind of talk about that issue. Now, there is in Canada not one universally accepted credential evaluation service, so it's critical, whatever you're intending to do, be it study or get professional licensing, to check with the end user, so that might be the university or the regulatory body, what their requirements are in the evaluation that they accept. For the Federal Skilled Worker Program, as you know, CIC, Citizenship and Immigration Canada, has designated World Education Services as one of the providers for that, so it's accepted for that purpose. But if you're thinking about doing continuing study after you arrive in Canada, just look into what those additional requirements are. Now, WES is a 40-year-old organization, and between our operations in the US and in Canada, we do more than 100,000 evaluations each year. And in Canada, we have strong relationships with a wide number of universities and colleges and regulatory bodies and employers, but not every one of them. So again, please check on what your intended purposes are. Thanks to the Information Communication Technology Council, we have a wonderful array of speakers, and joining us today from Shopify is Marcy Murray and her colleague Michael. From Fortinet, we have Fiona Ho, and joining us for the question and answer period will be Francis from Tata Consulting Services. So thank you to all of them for being a part of today's session. As I understand it, the ICT sector is obviously it's a well-established and growing sector, and there continue to be more opportunities. It's dynamic, it's growing, and I think the technical skills, now I'd have to ask the experts in our virtual room here if this is completely true, but they would be transferable wherever. So C++ and HTML5 is the same as it is in the province of Nova Scotia, as it is Ontario, as it is in California, although the weather, I guess, in California would be best. I mentioned the province of Nova Scotia because I want to draw your attention to an important issue. You would have applied to WES for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, but us and the other credential evaluation providers have seen a great increase in the volume of applications, and so there's a chance that you may not be successful through the Federal Skilled Worker Program, but there are other avenues to consider that you either may or may not be aware of, and I'd just like to talk a little bit about one of those in particular. That is the Provincial Nominee Programs, or PNPs. And as the title would suggest, each province is allowed to nominate people to come to their province to work. Now, the limits for each province are set by the federal government, and each province has different requirements and conditions. For example, in Ontario, we accept approximately 1,700 individuals through the Provincial Nominee Program. In other provinces is much more, but for example, in BC, British Columbia, you need to have a job offer from a British Columbia employer to be applicable for that program. Whereas in Nova Scotia, which is why I mentioned earlier that you don't need to have a job offer, you just need to demonstrate that you have an intention to work there for a period of time and to kind of establish your life there. Now, the province of Nova Scotia, as an example, it has the total population of the province is 1/5 that of the city of Toronto, the greater Toronto area. But there are emerging sectors in Nova Scotia and other parts of the country where ICT skills are in demand, and even other areas that are supported by those skills. So for example, in Nova Scotia, aerospace, and defense. So just consider all the options when looking about coming to Canada and the different areas that there might be opportunities for your skills. Another path, another plan C, if you will, could potentially be to study as an international student and then move through programs such as the Canadian Experience class, although I don't have enough time to get into that right now, but you're all technically savvy and I'm sure you can do the research that you need to online to find out more about that. Let's move along to the presentations. A note before we just move on to that about the technical skills. I'm going to put up a link to a webinar that we hosted with Ryerson University, which is here in Toronto, that addresses more of the soft skills which Canadian employers have often and frequently say are as critical as technical skills. So that webinar will help you to better understand Canadian workplace culture, and I'll put that URL up. It's on YouTube and you can probably find it even without the link, so I'll do that. But again, on to the presentations, and we're going to start with the Information Communication Technology Council, and presenting for them is Stephanie Wilson. So with that, Stephanie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Wilson and I'm a manager at the Information and Communications Technology Council under our Talent Innovation division. So I'm just going to start this as a slideshow. Excellent. Perfect. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about ICTC, a little bit about some of the programs and services that are available to you, both pre-arrival and post-arrival. But I'm not going to take too much time because I really want you to have the maximum amount of time available with the wonderful employers that we have on the panel today. So the Information and Communications Technology Council is a not-for-profit organization. We work with industry, we work with government and education to make sure that organizations and individuals have the information services that they need in order to be informed and prepared to work in Canada's ICT. So from an employment perspective, I'm just going to give you a little bit of numbers. So we're looking at Canada's ICT sector being about 651,000 with ICT jobs across any organization, any sector of the economy, at being about 844,000. What's interesting to note here is that the jobless rate for ICT occupations for immigrants specifically is 2.6 compared to the national average across all other occupations at 7.9%. So the IT industry has lots of job openings. The unemployment rate for the industry overall is in and around 3% compared to the national average, which again is in and around 7%. So there is a shortage both of labor and skills within the sector, so individuals with an IT background are definitely an occupation in demand. So just to give you a little bit on what the industry is looking for, and all of this information and in much greater detail is available on our website. So the URL is at the bottom of every single slide, but ICTC's research team releases monthly, quarterly, as well as annual reports. So it's definitely one that you have the opportunity to go in as many times as you want and take a look and see what information might be of interest to you. So you can look at the provinces, you can look at occupation-specific. From a job growth perspective in May, we're looking at software and graphical GUI developers, as well as electronic engineers. And for June, we were looking at much of the same. So GUI developers again, as well as computer and network systems engineers. So just a little bit about ICTC's talent initiative. So ICTC works to make sure that employers have the people that they need and are able to recruit, integrate, and retain the talent necessary to compete in today's digital economy. So we have immigration initiatives. We work with Aboriginals, youth, women, and partner collaboration. So very much like this webinar that we're very happy to bring to you today, we've partnered with World Education Services in order to make sure that employers are able to connect with some amazing talent such as yourself. So I mentioned a little bit earlier about the shortage. So currently there's approximately 106,000 occupations that are going to be, or people that are going to be needed to fill vacancies between now and 2016. Organizations and employers are looking for people with the right mix of business, interpersonal, technical skills. Looking at the birth rates, looking at retirement rates, internationally educated professionals, or IUPs, have been identified by employers, by industry, by Canada as a key target to fill some of those shortages. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that there's, employers are looking for that right mix of technical, interpersonal, language, communication, and business experience. And so there are lots of things that you can start to do pre-arrival to make sure that you have that right skill set so that when you get here, you're able to quickly move into employment and be successful in Canada. So just a high-level overview of the ICTC tools and services and really what we call our global talent roadmap to success. From a supply perspective, we've looked at the supply and demand, forecasting, we've worked with employers, we've created the NOC codes that exist thus far, as well as identifying standards and occupational definitions. We've used that in order to develop tools and resources that you can start to use overseas to prepare yourself for arrival and success here in Canada. So we have My Career Map, which is a self-assessment tool. We have online e-learning workshops, as well as employer engagement opportunities such as this one. Once you're here in Canada, there are bridging and networking opportunities, not just from ICTC, but from organizations, lots of community agencies. There are services to support recruitment and integration into the Canadian, into the city, into the community, into the workplace. We also have a couple of programs that allow employers to connect with talent overseas, and this one is just, this webinar is one of those opportunities. And you'll see this lovely picture of this lovely lady. She's actually an ICTC employee. She's in the Philippines, and so anyone that is immigrating to Canada, should you take advantage of the Canadian Immigrant Integration Program, doesn't matter what country you're coming from, you'll likely be introduced to her. So in the event you're ever connected, this is the lovely lady that you would be dealing with. So ICTC, I mentioned CIIP, so it's the Canadian Immigrant Integration Program. They've been working overseas since 2007. Their goal is to provide pre-arrival services to immigrants. So they do in-person and customized career maps, path maps for you to understand what you need to do for pre-arrival. So they do sector awareness, job readiness, and then as much as possible share with other organizations their lessons learned and best practices so that everybody can be a little more collaborative in pre-arrival support. And then I mentioned a couple of the tools, so I'm just really going to high level going to show you a couple of them. This is the My Career Map. It's a self-assessment tool that is free. You can access it online off our website, and you can do self-assessments in culture, communication, or competencies, as well as start some knowledge learning on resumes and interviews and labor market intelligence. Our workshops online is, again, another free tool. It just starts to let you look at getting a job in Canada, building a career. There are some language assessment workshops as well as tools. And then there are workshops for stakeholders that will support you once you get here as well. We have two bridging programs. They're currently both located in Toronto. I won't talk too much about them. You can find the information on our website. But with any bridging program that exists in Canada, The goal is to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to be able to quickly move into employment. So if you have the opportunity, whether it's ICTC's or anyone else's, I would encourage you to explore a bridging program as quickly as possible once you arrive. The success rate for employment is really high across the country. So we have two, a Coaching to Career and an IWES program. And again, this will be available in the recording, so you can come back and look at this anytime. And that's it for me, Stephen. I'm going to pass it back to you. If anybody, of course, has any questions, but I do encourage you to go out and check out our website and take a look. And if there's anything that you can do or anything that I can do to help you, my email is in the slide deck, so you could always drop me an email, and I can point you in the right direction.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephanie. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Fiona Ho, who's with Fortinet. So Fiona, take it away.
My name is Fiona Ho, and I'm the HR generalist at Fortinet Technologies. I'm very excited to share with you the success story of Fortinet. For those of you who are not familiar with Fortinet, so we can go to the second slide now. So Fortinet is the network security industry. We've been around for 14 years now, and we published in 2009 on NASDAQ. Last July, the third security appliances, and we continue to be the market leader in UTM, Unified Threat Management. So let's move on to the next slide and take a look at what UTM is at a very high level. So here you can see what the typical ad hoc model is, where you have different vendors for different features for firewalls, VPNs, and so forth. And what we've done is, we've taken on the UTM approach, which at a very high level is unifying various features onto one device, which is our FortiGate, our flagship product. Now, our flagship FortiGate is a security platform that offers a blend of ASIC accelerated performance, multi-threat response, and constantly updated in-depth threat intelligence. It employs technologies for networking, security, content analysis, and the suite of the security technologies include the firewall, VPN, antivirus, intrusion prevention, application control, web filtering, and so forth, and which each of these can either be deployed individually to complement legacy solutions that customers may have, or you can combine them all for a comprehensive threat management solution, which we call UTM. Now, these solutions are complemented with an array of management, analysis, email database, and endpoint security products. And so in terms of Fortinet's mission, it's really to deliver the most innovative, highest performing network security platform to secure and simplify our customers' IT infrastructure. Everything is homegrown from the ground up. We develop our own operating system in-house based on an embedded Linux CBOX, and we do all of that in-house. Now, in terms of Fortinet's presence in Canada, moving on to the next slide, globally, we are a global company, so we have 2,500 employees worldwide. 35% of the company is in R&D. And that's what I'm really here to talk about. Even though our headquarters is based in Sunnyvale, California, our R&D headquarters is based in Vancouver, BC. Now, Canada has the largest employee base for Fortinet. We have 760 employees across Canada in our two offices, in our R&D headquarters in Vancouver with 521 employees, and then in Ottawa we have 200 employees and our remote sales across the country. Now, I just want to focus on the growth that we've had as a company in Canada. So if we move on to the next slide. This is the
All right.
Fortinet has experienced in the last 3.5 years. So when I look at our Vancouver R&D headquarters, that 2011, we had 344. Oh, and my apologies, that's actually 2010 year end. So beginning of 2011, we had 344 employees, and to date, we have 521. So we've had a growth of about 52% in our Vancouver office. In Ottawa, we've gone from 70 to 201 employees, and our sales team has grown as well. So when I look at the total growth in Canada, we're looking at about a 76% growth in 3.5 years. And, what's very exciting for me to share today is that Fortinet is continuing to grow, and I will talk a bit about some of the opportunities that we have in R&D for the different offices. So when I take a step back, moving on to the next slide here, as I mentioned earlier, Fortinet is a global company, so we do have a presence internationally. And this is just a snapshot of where Fortinet's presence is. When I look at it, we do have presence across North America, Latin America, across Europe, across Asia Pacific. Again, a quick snapshot to show you that Fortinet is truly a global company. One thing I want to highlight here is in Europe and APAC, we have primarily sales that work in these two areas, and then the R&D is primarily in Canada, in the U.S., in our Sunnyvale head office, and we also have R&D in our China offices as well. Moving on, when we look at the financials of the company, so certainly we are a very innovative, cutting-edge company when it comes to our technology. When it comes to our finances, we are a very, very financially healthy company. When I look at, as you can see here on the slide, we are very profitable. We have positive cash flow, more than $834 million in cash. So as a company, we are very financially healthy. And now, moving on to look at where Fortinet is in the marketplace. So as I mentioned earlier, Fortinet is the third largest provider of network security appliances. When I look at who the top 3 players are, I'm sure Cisco and Check Point many of you are familiar with. Now take a look at the market share percentages there, and then take a look at the growth year over year. Fortinet's growth has surpassed the Cisco and Check Point by quite a bit, and that's very exciting for us. And certainly our goal is to be number 2 when it comes to security appliances. So, to bring it all together in terms of Fortinet's products and technologies, it's really a comprehensive all-in-one solution with the UTM solution. It's a lower total cost for customers because everything is integrated. It's real-time security, so we do provide 24/7 global updates, and it is flexible. So it's certainly customizable to customers from small, mid-size to our enterprise level customers. Now, in terms of, let's focus on the R&D side. Going on to the next slide. In terms, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Mosaic, but they are an immigration association. And our Vancouver office here works very closely with Mosaic, working with immigrants who are just arrived in Vancouver, Canada, providing information sessions on some of the job opportunities that we have in our Vancouver office. We do get involved with some of their community events and support Mosaic in various capacities. We do go out to their annual career fair as well. And last year we were awarded with the Employer Recognition Award by Mosaic. So certainly Fortinet is a very multicultural organization. We are very diverse, especially in our Vancouver office here with 520 people. And certainly, very, very honored to be awarded that. Moving on to the next slide, this is actually hot off the press. Earlier this month, Fortinet was awarded Company of the Year with the BC Technology Industry Association. And there you can see, in terms of our technologies and everything, it certainly is a very exciting time. And we are and some very exciting growth ahead of us. Now, I want to spend some time to talk about some of the opportunities. So to date, our Vancouver office has about 50 open positions. They're all technical positions ranging from software development, both front-end and back-end. We have other release QA positions, other web positions, technical support positions. Vancouver certainly has a very large tech industry. It is booming. And so, when it comes to the growth there, we have about 50 positions. I believe we're on the slide with the C programmers and web developers. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So that is what we're looking for when it comes to the skill set. Between this slide and the next slide are just 4 of the positions that I've highlighted here in terms of what we are looking for. At a very high level, when it comes to our C programmers, our embedded software developers, we are looking for individuals who have networking experience. It's great to have security experience as well, but it's not required. But certainly the networking piece, low-level programming, so C, C++, working in a Linux environment, and some experience with firewalls would be an asset as well. I was going over the questions that some of you had for this presentation. In terms of the, Canadian experience, for us at Fortinet, experience is experience. So regardless of whether or not it's in Canada, it doesn't matter to us as long as you know the technologies and have experience with development. What's more important is whether or not your experience and the development experience that you have, the languages that you know, is relevant to what you need for that. For that, it's really all about the skill sets there. Whether or not you have Canadian experience, it doesn't matter to us here. So in terms of the recruitment process and what happens, so all of these positions are posted on our careers website. So that is on the last slide in terms of how you can apply for some of these jobs. These are all full-time permanent positions. So we are looking for full-time employees here. Please take a look at our careers website to see what some of the opportunities are available for you, both in our Vancouver and Ottawa office. We are growing in both offices. Send me an email directly or send me a copy of your resume if you are interested in a few positions, or if you have any questions, please reach out to me. We do post on some of the job boards as well, on Monster, Dice, TNet, LinkedIn. And so please get in touch with me if you have any questions. These positions are ongoing. We do have we are looking for multiple programmers and so forth for all our various teams. So when it comes to the screening process, as they are all technical positions, we typically go through a remote coding test first, just to further confirm the experience and skill set indicated on the resume. And once we have that technical test, we then move on to a conversation to talk a bit about the test and your experience. And lastly, I just want to comment on the certifications as well, whether or not it's helpful. Certifications are helpful as long as they are relevant for the position that you're looking for. Cisco certifications are often very helpful for our QA positions, as well as our tech support positions as well. And then it really comes down to what position it is and whether or not it's relevant. So if anyone has any questions, I'm not sure if we're doing Q&A at the end of this. Otherwise, please send me an email. I apologize for the inconvenience in getting my presentation up. I don't actually see the presentation in front of me, so hopefully all of you were able to follow. Thank you.
You did well. Thanks so much, Fiona. Okay. Very important notes there about the certification, so that's great. Now let's move on to Shopify, and Michael, I just want to make sure I'll unmute you, and then, Michael, do you have a presentation? I can flip you to be the presenter. Do you have slides?
Yep, we sent. I have. I should have sent something along earlier. Maybe it's in your email. Otherwise, if you make my screen the active one, I suppose I could just do it from here.
You should have it now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Perfect.
Okay, can everybody see that?
I believe I can. So.
Hey guys, I'm Marcy as well, and I'm from Shopify with Mike. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about Shopify and sort of the different positions that we hire for, and then Mike's going to take you through sort of the eyes of a developer and software engineer at Shopify. So primarily here at Shopify, we hire for a bunch of different roles, but a lot of developers, designers, engineers, and support. So our support team runs remotely across Canada, as well as some in-house, and all different backgrounds, all different experiences, and primarily working on a lot of live channels with our customer base, which is over 110,000 shops right now operating on Shopify. So all of our careers are actually listed on our careers page, and expectations for applying to each role. So Mike's going to take you through a little bit about, it's actually a presentation that was created by somebody at Shopify, sort of through his eyes.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is I just wanted to kind of share, so Kevin Hughes is a developer here at Shopify, and we thought sort of the best way to let you guys know about us and what life as a dev here would be like is to just look at it through his eyes. So this is that. So first of all, sort of why we love working at Shopify, what it's like, and then how to actually get a job here. Why do devs like working at Shopify? So number one, programmers by programmers for programmers. So we were started back in 2006. Toby Luque is our CEO and founder, and he is a developer through and through. He's one of the original core contributors to Rails way back in the day, and that's actually how Shopify, or that's actually what Shopify is running on as well. And so being in an environment where the CEO, the founder, the man sort of guiding the ship is a developer, it just means we're a very developer-focused company. So that's kind of a nice thing to do if you're a developer. Tools that we use here. So we are a Rails shop. We're actually, at this point, the largest and longest running Rails shop in the world. So if you've used Ruby, if you've played around with Rails and you enjoy it, we are sort of an excellent place to stop by and see. We also use Python on our data team. They're playing around with Python. We're a very data-driven company, so that team is growing right now quite a bit. We have an experimental team kind of playing around with Go, just to kind of see, it's pretty easy to deploy and build some quick things, and so there's a couple teams playing around with those sorts of tools. We use GitHub for all of our development, and overall it's just sort of a very kind of modern development environment where you can use the tools that you want to use and build things quickly, which actually brings me to my next point, shipping fast. So a lot of companies have very sort of slow development cycles, like maybe they have major deploys like every couple of months. Here at Shopify, we actually will ship code to production 5, 6, 7 times every single day. So it's a super fast-paced environment. So if say you're working on a new feature or a bug fix in the morning, you can have some coworkers review your code in the afternoon, and then the next day that could be deployed to production, which means it's out there for 100,000 shops to use instantly. So if you like building things quickly and seeing your code out, this place good place to do it. Open source, huge part of who we are. Right now we've actually got about 14 different open source projects and growing. Some of our main ones, Active Merchant, Batman.js, and Zeus. And it's a huge part of who we are and all of our sort of employees. They love contributing to open source work. A lot of them have very large open source projects that they're sort of the creators of. And Shopify, it's a big part of our culture, being in that environment and open sourcing a lot of our things. Working and learning with the best. We're hiring developers from around the world to come here and work with us, and it's a good environment to kind of be with some of the best developers anywhere in Canada, and now we're kind of expanding across the world, bringing people in. Sort of final reason, well, one of the many reasons that it's exciting to be here, default to open. It's an attitude that we have here for just being open, sharing, showing what's going on within the company, and so it's a very sort of different environment, not the sort of large corporate environment that you might see elsewhere. And finally, kind of an awesome product. So we're a commerce platform. We power over 110,000 different shops right now who are using us every single day. Everything from like a mom and pop who are just getting started selling jam to businesses selling $1 million of product every single week, which is and all powered by the same platform. So it's an interesting product. We're growing like crazy, and so it's kind of fun to work on something that's used by so many people.
Especially from the support perspective, we're also getting the opportunity to chat with shop owners on a daily basis who are running like a full retail operating system through Shopify. So everything from point of sale to payments, they're running their online web store, going to market. Just a really interesting and vast group of entrepreneurs that you interact with on a daily basis.
Yeah, so now just kind of what it's like to actually be a developer here, like what are you actually doing? So Kevin, he works on our core or API team, building the actual the infrastructure for all the different apps to connect into us. Typical day for Kevin. So if he's working on a bug fix, something crashes, something isn't working, issue logs in GitHub, he'll jump in, try to replicate the bug on his own system. He can write some tests to figure out what's going on. He'll figure out the cause, write the code, get a code review done. This all typically will happen. I mean, if it's a minor bug, it'll all happen within a day. Code review happens. You have two coworkers take a look. It's deployed to our staging environment, and then it's shipped right to production. So really fast development time. Say he's adding a new feature. So new features, again, are sort of tracked all in GitHub. Project manager would kind of come along and be like, okay, we're going to be building out this new area for our API for people to be able to connect in. Typically, a couple people would probably work on this together on the team, work on writing it all out, and then similar process where you have coworkers just do 2 code reviews, it's sent up to our staging environment, run through some automated tests, and then deployed to production. So again, just sort of a fast build features.
Your audio cut out there just a little bit for the last few sentences.
Oh, sorry. Let's see if you can still hear me. So I was just saying, so similar to building, so like a bug fix, deploying a feature very similar where the project manager would kind of come through and be like, this is sort of the next feature we'd like to build. A couple team members would work on that. Code review up to our staging environment, and then it's deployed to production. So again, very fast development cycle, even for new features coming out. And then finally, so how do you actually get a job here at Shopify? Be passionate about what you do. So we don't actually care about education or school or things like that. We care very much about are you interested in the work that you're doing, and can you show that you're like passionate about it? So Kevin's story, he graduated from a university here in Ontario called Queen's University as a mechanical engineer. He went on after to do a master's in computer science, and he just sort of picked up Ruby and started to learn it and loved it, and he was building his own open source project which sort of caught our attention, and it's how we ended up being here. So what can you do to stand out? We don't, like, resumes are great and all, but we don't, like, care that much about them. What we want to see are things like projects that you're working on. Do you have open source work? Are you participating in the community? And what are you doing that's sort of not school, that's not work, to show that you're actually passionate about what you do and that you're actually a really strong developer? So that's basically us. If you have any questions, you can, my email here at Shopify is just Mike, M-I-K-E, @shopify.com. You can send me any questions. I do a lot of the developer recruiting and hiring here, so just shoot me any questions that you might have.
Yeah, and you can reach me for support-related roles. That would be primarily actually through our careers page. We have all the different remote cities located on there, and they come directly our way.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So on the topic of question and answer, I think with TCS, Tata Consulting Services, they're having a bit of difficulty connecting, so troubleshoot that bug. So we'll probably tie them into the webinar after the fact, add it into the recording so that people can hear more about what they do. But on the question front, like, that was a great way to go about telling what it's like to work in Shopify, a personal account, if you will. So let's say, for example, I'll start with the team at Shopify. Let's say someone had a skill set that isn't used at Shopify, but in ICT. You know, a lot of the questions we had for the webinar was, where's the best place to find jobs? What are the in-demand technical skills? So maybe if you have any insights to share on that, Mike.
Yeah, certainly. So if you look at our development environment, so we're a large Rails shop. If you have any kind of experience there, obviously that's cool and that's great, but it's not necessary. So we have people, if you're just like a strong developer in whatever language you do know, be it Python, Java, C++, whatever it is, that's perfectly fine. We look for people who are really strong developers, whatever language they do know. They're participating in the community, and then it's easy to kind of pick up Ruby and learn Rails. Like, it's just learning the syntax of another language, essentially. And so that's sort of on the development side. We've got a lot of different roles, everything from back-end infrastructure, performance, front-end development work, to our data team. So depending on where your interests lie, you can apply for just, if you look at our careers page, we've got just a software developer.
Oh, sorry.
So it's the software developer on our careers page. You can apply to that, and then we sort of can see where your skills are and where our needs are, and that's how you kind of get matched up.
Fiona, perhaps are you still on the line? I'll unmute you. Fiona, any of your thoughts?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So in terms of, if you take a look at our careers website, we do have different teams working on different technologies. So it all comes down to whether you're looking for front-end development, back-end development, are you looking for a QA role or a tech support? So, some of the positions, if you're working in a Linux versus a Windows environment, some of the technologies used are different. So it would really depend where your background is and whether or not and for that, you know, a lot of times because we have so many positions, what happens is when someone applies for a specific role where they may not be a fit, we often look to see what other roles where there may be a fit for the candidate. So we certainly open it up to all of our different positions because teams do look for different things. So it all depends. But certainly
Great,
a lot
thanks.
of technologies are
Go ahead.
used.
Since we're running short on time, I'm going to just touch on a few questions that we got before the webinar, because a lot of them are quite specific to each individual's circumstances, so it's difficult to kind of address all of them at once. But I'm going to touch on a few here now. A couple of questions were around certifications and what's the right ones to have and which are the more valuable ones. And I think the ICTC website has the resources that will be most effective for this type of query. So, for example, they have something called their career map. That will help people to better understand the landscape of Canadian ICT. And they also have something called Global Talent Connections, which is a bit of a facilitating match between employers, which sort of also addresses some of the questions around how to connect with employers. Another tool to look at is something called the Working in Canada tool, and I'll put the URL up for that. That provides labor market information and skills and requirements and where the opportunities may be. And in terms of connecting directly with employers, I would say look on a specific employer's website. Like today we had Fortinet and Shopify talk about the opportunities that are available in those companies, but based on your area of expertise, look for companies in Canada that might be hiring and check out their website. The other place to search, in addition to the other job boards such as Monster and Workopolis and LinkedIn, and I'm going to come back to LinkedIn in just a minute, but is the Government of Canada's job bank site, and I'll put that URL as well. But on the point of LinkedIn, it sort of addresses some of the questions that we got were around mentoring and mentoring programs. Now, it's difficult when you're not already in Canada. There are a number of programs for people once you're here, but I would say take advantage of what's available through technology. Now, LinkedIn is an incredibly valuable resource. So one might think about connecting with, trying to connect with someone, do research about someone in Canada that does the similar type of work that you do. Try to connect with them on LinkedIn, and if they agree, then take the opportunity to ask those specific questions that you have about your journey that you're looking to find out about more. And you know, if you're not able to directly connect with an individual, there are a number of groups. I did a quick search of LinkedIn groups connected to ICT in Canada, so it's a really effective way both to start building your network, but also to hopefully get some answers to some of those specific questions. So we will do our best in other forms and fashions to try and provide more insights in terms of those questions. One of those was around job search, and we're actually going to have a webinar on July 16th about how to launch a career job search in Canada. So we'll please check back with us, and we'll try and promote that out to you so you're aware of it, and we'll send out the recording. And with that, I think we'll wrap up. So again, thank you to everyone for participating. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon.